Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap-up, the WNW 204 for Friday, August 21st, 2015. I'm coming to you from a farm in Missouri. We'll talk about drought. We'll talk about crops towards the end of this report. But first up, Hillary Clinton's email scandal. Her email problem seems to be getting worse and worse day by day, week by week. It's now reported that national security laws, at least 2 national security laws, were broken by Hillary Clinton and top staff members. Also reported that more than 300 emails that she turned over. This isn't the emails that were deleted. This is the emails that were turned over. Over 300 emails are now deemed classified, and there are special ways to handle classified documents. Allegedly, these emails were not handled correctly, which is a felony. Laws were broken. This is serious, serious stuff, and the national security of America, no doubt, has been jeopardized because of Hillary Clinton. This is the first time that a Secretary of State had his or her own email account, and then when time came that they were supposed to turn it over, deleted what emails she thought were important, and then wiped the server clean and turned it over to the FBI. Now, Hillary Clinton has no idea how or who wiped the server clean. She says she didn't do it. She also says she broke no laws. That's what she keeps saying. Her staff members are also in trouble. They have failed to comply with a federal judge's order to verify in sworn statements that they have turned over all documents that belong to the government. This just smacks of conspiracy, of cover-up, of deep problems. I mean, turned over a wipe-clean server to the FBI. Watergate was all about obstruction of justice, not about the break-in. The break-in, if they had said, yeah, we broke into misdemeanor, wouldn't have been a big deal. But, Watergate was all about obstruction of justice. This, to me, looks like obstruction of justice, conspiracy. What Nixon did with his White House tapes and the Watergate break-in looks pretty tame compared to what happened with this server that got hacked. Plenty of people have said, well, China, Russia, all of our enemies, they all know what's on that server. We don't. She supposedly wiped it clean, doesn't know how it was wiped clean. This is unbelievable, and the lying is juvenile. It's like you're sitting there looking, through a crack in a door, watching a child cram 6 chocolate chip cookies in their mouth. Chocolate chip cookies, you said, hey, don't eat those. They're cramming. You walk in the middle of their mouths puffed out like a chipmunk, and they're going, what's going on? I don't know. I didn't eat no cookies. I mean, it looks stupid. It looks juvenile, childish, the lies. It's unbelievable. And as I said, national security was jeopardized. I've said for months that Hillary Clinton would not be president, one way or the other, through some scandal or something that she wouldn't be president. And in this case, I think the Democrats will pull the plug before she gets into deep legal trouble. She's already in deep legal trouble. I think the Democrats, not the Republicans, are going to pull the plug on this. They can't wait till 5 or 6 months before an election. They're going to have to do it sooner than later. And I say Hillary Clinton is out before the first debate. And she may see jail time along with her underlings. She's going to try to get her underlings to do the jail time, and I think they're going to squeal like pigs. She's out before the first debate. Speaking of childish, we found out what was in these side deals with the Iran nuclear program, and we found out that verification of Iran's military nuclear sites are going to be done by Iran. What? Remember, flashback, President Obama, this deal is about verification, not about trust. It's not about trust, it's about verification. John Kerry, the same thing. Oh, it's about all this bluffing about, we're going to walk out of this deal. What? You're going to walk out? You should have walked out. I mean, John Kerry sitting in front of Congress saying, I don't have access to the side deals. And stop here just for a minute. The side deal, verification. Since when is verification, which is the linchpin of this deal, a side deal done by the UN? And John Kerry, the architect of the deal, doesn't know what's in the side deal, doesn't have access to it. This is all about verification. And he doesn't know about it. I said before, John Kerry is either a liar or a buffoon or both. And now we found out he's both. He should be ashamed of himself and he ought to resign. It's unbelievable. And I've said from the beginning, if you want to know what's in the deal, listen to the Iranians. The Iranians have been very consistent. I have to hand it to them. They've said, listen, when the sanctions are done, we're done. We're not going to have any more. It's not going to be gradual. And also, you're not going to inspect our military sites. And that's exactly what the deal is. And this is the deal that John Kerry says, oh, you have to vote for, or we could lose our reserve currency status. How about you just cutting a better deal, Mr. Secretary of State? This is going to be very easy for Democrats to vote no on. Very easy. Charles Schumer, who is the presumptive minority leader in the Senate after Harry Reid steps down, has already thumbs down. Robert Menendez, another big-time Democrat from New Jersey, thumbs down. This is going to be very easy to thumbs down. It's going to have bipartisan support for a no vote, for a no on the deal. Of course, if Obama overrides or if he vetoes it, if he vetoes the deal, that means it goes through, and they can't override it. It goes through. But it's looking more and more like his veto is not going to stand. They're going to override that veto. There's not a Democrat out there that's going to vote yes on this if they're up for re-election. That's everybody in the House, and that's 10 Democrats in the Senate. They'd get none of those. Last I heard, only 13 Democrats were willing to vote yes on it in the Senate. Going to be a no vote. And his veto, that will surely come, will be overridden. I mean, you're talking about a deal that gives Iran $150 billion, and they verify themselves they're not building a nuclear weapon? What? This is another juvenile, childish lie from our Secretary of State. And let me tell you, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State's a key position you interface with the NSA, the CIA, the Pentagon, the Department of Defense, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the President of the United States, all the embassies, and the 70 or 80,000 employees around the world. It's a key position. And for John Kerry, for these childish, buffoonish lies, outrageous. Outrageous. Going to be very easy for the Democrats and Republicans to vote no on this. Federal Reserve Vice President Stephen Williamson says, hey, QE didn't work. It didn't do anything for the real economy, the economy of Main Street. What have I been telling you? There is no recovery on Main Street. There was on Wall Street. That's what he says. That Williamson, a St. Louis VP at the Federal Reserve, says, yeah, it helped the stock market, but it really didn't help Main Street. Hey, guess what else it helped? It exploded the Federal Reserve balance sheet. It went from about $800 billion more than 6 years ago to more than $4.5 trillion. That's what they admit to. You can't audit the Federal Reserve. And that's what they admit to. They exploded the balance sheet, so they're basically, clicking their gun with no more live rounds in the chamber. There are all kinds of warnings coming out. Number one from the Fed in their minutes in July, the economy's not doing very well, which means there's not going to be much of a rate hike, if any, none, in September, that they've been telling people they're going to have a rate hike. Another big warning came out from Alan Greenspan, former Fed head Alan Greenspan, who's warning of a bond bubble. He's also warning that when the bubble pops, that interest rates could explode higher. And Alan Greenspan says that the bond market is in an, quote, extraordinary unstable position. That doesn't sound like it's going to explode years from now, does it? There is no recovery for Main Street. And now MSM and the Fed and everybody else knows that there has been no recovery. Gregory Mannarino, my friend from TradersChoice.net, called the market top back in May, and I had him on a couple of weeks ago, and it's just gone down from here. Mannarino says, hey, listen, if the Fed comes out in September and does nothing with interest rates, you might see a bounce from the stock market. But he says the trend for the stock market is decidedly down. It is decidedly down. He thinks they cannot, unless they want to crash the economy, will not raise interest rates when they meet in September. So, it's like the little boy that cried wolf, and, they've been crying, we're going to raise interest rates back in June, and then now in September, we're going to raise interest rates. They'd love to, but if they'd like to crash the economy, they won't. And as Mannarino says, the highs are in with the stock market. What's it off since he said that 1,400 points, the Dow? California is a mess. The West is a mess. I'm coming to you, as I said, from a farm in Missouri. Let's get this out of the way first. It's feast or famine here. Way too much water, and if you timed it wrong, you got corn that looks like this. This is supposed to be over my head. This is supposed to be 7 or 8 feet tall. That's the corn that's around here. This is a total washout. There will be no ears of corn on this corn. It looks like oversized blades of grass. And then if you timed it right, you get corn that looks like this, and you're getting 2 and 3 ears on the stalk. And it was pretty good for some people. This is going to be basically an insurance claim. If they bought insurance when this crop was planted, they'll get, I don't know, 60, 70%, depends on what you signed up for. But, that's the west and east of the Mississippi, some little bit west of the Mississippi. But the west is really in dire straits. Let's look right here in the west. You see here Missouri. We are no drought. And if you look here in the west, oh my, and then look, Oregon, Washington State, California's ground zero. This red blob just looks to me, it gets bigger every week. All of the state is in some sort of drought. About 2/3 of the state is in the worst drought that they have. They've lost 21,000 jobs, mostly in agriculture. They've lost $3 billion associated with the drought. And you remember, NASA in March said California had about a year's worth of water left. About a year's worth of water left. Now, there's talk about El Nino coming in and relieving the West, but there's no guarantee that El Nino is going to, water California. They're way down. They need rain. They need years of rain. And I don't see any stories from Governor Jerry Brown saying, oh, he's working on desalination or trucking water in or piping water in. I see no stories about that. If he's betting on El Nino in hope, that's a long shot bet. And there's 38 million people there. And again, this is not getting better. And not getting better, Oregon and Washington. It's pretty sad when Arizona has a lot more water than California, Oregon, and Washington State. Pretty sad and pretty dangerous. I'm Greg Hunter. That's the way I see it. Thank you for supporting USAWatchdog.com with your comments and donations. And remember, folks, fear not. Prepare yourself physically, mentally, and above all, spiritually. Fear not.